Welcome back, everyone. We have Calvin Ruda here with us from Wild West Wildlife Rehabilitation Center. Today we're meeting Maizy, the Texas corn snake. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank y'all for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the name Maizy. Tell us a little bit about Maizy and how she got into y'all's care.
Okay, so yes, Maizy is a pun on maize and corn. So she's actually came from one of our rehabbers, Lisa. She handles a lot of our reptiles and things like that. And I believe Maizy came from her personally, giving us over as an educational ambassador animal. And Maizy here is a corn snake. Now, these guys end up in our region sometimes, and how that ends up happening is actually a lot of times because they're a big part of the pet trade, and they get released around here. Now, we have a lot of species similar to Miss Maizy. We have Great Plains rat snakes, for example, which are another species of non-venomous constrictive snake. These guys are more native down to Florida and that kind of region. But you can see, for example, like how they get their name of corn snake. You know, for one, they spend a lot of times in cornfields looking for rats and mice and things like that. But the coloration, the camouflage and things like that works really well for that. So they've got that kind of dark orange, reddish color you'd see in like dried corn kernels. You'd find like all over the ground in cornfields.
Gotcha. And I know you mentioned, you know, they're commonly found in Florida, but are any around this area?
Yeah, so we've got Great Plains rat snakes. We have another species of corn snake that I cannot remember the name of it right now. And a couple of other different species of constrictor snakes like this, which are non-venomous. Now, one of the things that happens with snakes like this a lot of the times is that they're mistaken for venomous snakes. So with Maizy here, with this kind of reddish coloring, a lot of times people will think that she's a copperhead.
Gotcha.
And we'll take them out, not realizing that they're actually a really beneficial little rodent snake like this.
So if you ever come across a corn snake like Maizy here, it's best to just leave it alone.
Yeah, generally speaking, you know, especially any snake, right? Because a lot of the times, unless you're really comfortable and familiar with them, you may not know exactly what species it is you're dealing with, so you don't want to get too close, just like with any wild animal.
No, I'm good.
But a lot of these guys, they're not going to bother you, especially these ones that, you know, if you don't see that distinctive rattle and some of those other things of a venomous snake, these guys are actually deemed beneficial to people because they keep out rats and mice and all sorts of other pests from both from like for agricultural purposes and out of our homes.
Gotcha. And you brought something really cool besides Maizy here. Tell us, I mean, she's longer than I was expecting.
Yeah, so she's pretty long, and this is actually a full shed from her, and you can see that it came apart here at the tail. Now, they do this about once a month. They'll completely shed.
Oh, they shed that often?
Yeah, they shed that often. A lot of the times what you'll see is that they'll get real faded. They'll kind of slow down a lot, get kind of sleepy, shed it off, and then all of a sudden their scales and colors are much more vibrant. Usually they're quite hungry and ready to get out and do stuff again because they've kind of had to work to get all this off of them. And a lot of times one of the things you'll see that's interesting is that their eyes will become like a milky blue color, as they get ready to shed, because here on the shed, which I don't know if it'll show up really on camera, but you can actually see where her eyes are on the shed, you know, so these actually come off directly from her eyes since they don't have eyelids, so they don't blink.
That is interesting. And I know a lot of people have reptiles as pets, and shedding is something that you have to let them do naturally, correct?
Yes, it is actually really important for them to be able to do it naturally. They need a certain amount of moisture and everything else, but they kind of take it off at their own pace, you know? I mean, it's almost like if you've got like skin peeling or something else like that, you try to rip it off, you know, you're gonna get like a hangnail, it's gonna hurt. It's the same thing for a snake, right? That's really sensitive for them, and they need to kind of slowly work that off so it doesn't cause any injury.
Gotcha.
Wow. So if you ever come across one of these, don't try to like help them take the skin off. You got to let them.
Yeah, just let them work it off. They'll work their magic, you know, over some time. They'll find some rocks or something and slide along that, and it'll come right off.
Tell me something. Man, okay. Well, it is 6:20. Thank you so much. Welcome back, everybody. We are here with Calvin from Wild West Wildlife Rehabilitation. We're talking about their upcoming Face Your Fears event. So tell us a little bit more, man.
Yeah, so October 25th, we're going to be having an event at Harley Trips Davidson here in Amarillo. It's going to be a great event. We're going to have a bunch of different animals out there. So some snakes like Miss Maizy, some lizards and other reptiles for folks who aren't so friendly with our cold-blooded animals around here. We'll have some insects, some arachnids, as well as some of our kind of fluffier ambassadors out there like McGee or Stella, our possum.
Good old McGee.
And we'll also have like candy. It's totally free. We really would love to have like families and local people come out and see what we're all about.
Absolutely. And what's kind of, the main purpose of this event? There are a lot of misconceptions, right?
Yeah, exactly that. So a lot of animals who we maybe just see occasionally as they're running across the street or getting in our trash or whatever else it may be, we kind of tend to see them as something that we need to be worried about. And that's not always the case, right? We just need to be able to be respectful of them and appreciative of them and kind of understand them. And that's what it really takes to be able to live right alongside them, right? Because they do live right alongside us.
Right.
We can't
Absolutely.
change that. And so letting people have those kinds of first-hand experiences with them and see that they're not just kind of like that scary animal they see out at night making weird noises, that makes a big difference in how people can kind of appreciate what we have in our local habitats here.
Absolutely.
And an increase in that understanding definitely goes a long way. I do have a question.
Yeah.
Now, like with rattlers, when they're kind of warning you, they make the noise, of course, with the rattlers, letting you know, hey, kind of back up. For a snake like Maizy here, what's kind of their warning sign to a potential like predator?
So it'll really depend. So there actually are some species that are like Maizy who are non-venomous. They lack a rattle, but they'll still shake their tail like it has a rattle, right? To kind of ward off predators and stuff and kind of confuse them into thinking they might be a rattlesnake or a more venomous snake. A lot of these guys, they're really just going to run.
Yeah.
That's like their main thing. They don't really, because they're not venomous, they're not really going to try to rear up or kind of scare you away. Right. They're just going to try to scurry away as fast as they can and find somewhere to kind of hide into or get away from you. So generally speaking, that's really what you're going to see with these kinds of snakes. They're not really going to try to threaten you or get you to go away like that.
So in a lot of cases, they're more scared of you than you are of them.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. A lot of people are... I know many people are frightened of snakes, but these guys really have nothing that they want to do with us either. So,
Gotcha. And real quick, we were talking about Maisy's tongue earlier because she's been sticking that thing out.
yes.
And so tell us about how cool that is.
Yeah, so snakes have two main ways, and it's really interesting. Their vision is kind of seen in infrared, so they can see differences in temperature, but the majority of how they're finding their way around and finding prey is through that sense of smell and taste that they have associated with their tongue. And that forked tongue that's so accustomed and associated with snakes and reptiles is it's directional. So whenever it feels or tastes something, it's more to the left, it knows to go that direction, more to the right, it knows to go that direction. And that's why they have that forked tongue.
That is crazy.
That's pretty cool, man. Learn something new every day, man. I love it. All right, Calvin, thanks so much for being here.